appreciate the members of this body being willing to share their very personal stories today, and they have been very moving for all of us. And I'm going to also share some stories as to the reason why I decided to be an author of this bill. But first, I'd like to talk about some of the misinformation that the gentleman from the 19th asked us to go through and asked us to address. And I'd like to say publicly that this legislation provides for an exception for instances of rape, incest, and of medical emergencies. And it's consistent with the informed consent laws. I was very deliberate when I was asked to be an author of this bill to make sure that was part of the provisions of the bill. The other aspect of this bill, before I signed on to be an author, is that I understood that a woman who was going to be asked or would have full knowledge of the ultrasound, and that she would be able to choose the ultrasound that she wanted to have done before the abortion procedure was done. It was very clear to me that that was a decision that the woman would have to make, or a choice that the woman would have to make, and that is in this bill so that there is not any misinformation that the woman makes that choice as the type of ultrasound she wants. No one is going to be forced to have an ultrasound that they do not choose, or a type of ultrasound that they do not choose. I would also mention that in Amendment 1 that was done to this bill over in the Senate, the physician who performs the abortion must provide a means for the woman to visualize any fetal heartbeat if one is detected by the ultrasound type choice of the woman. So I think that sort of dispels any type of myth that some of you have been I guess ill-informed of in this bill. Also, this bill is not about elective. This bill is about elective abortion situation. And I know the lady from the 79th talked about some situations, but this bill does not apply to some of those situations that she talked about. I'd also like to address one of the concerns of the lady of the 77th that asked us, to stand up for women. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is stand up for women in this bill. You have stories about women who have had very poor situations with ultrasounds. I would like to talk and read to you some situations, or the reason why this bill came into being. It was because of a woman named Sonia. Permission to read from a printed document from time to time.
Absolutely.
It says, okay, I am Sonia, and I am a mother of 2 children. I learned I was pregnant with my 3rd child this past November. I was stunned. How could this be? I had taken precautions, but now I was pregnant. I worried about how I could handle another child emotionally and financially. I seriously thought about abortion. I saw a bus ad about a free ultrasound and decided to have an abdominal ultrasound and have one of those done. I learned I was 7 weeks pregnant by an abdominal ultrasound. Once I saw my child and realized his heart was beating, I made an emotional connection with my baby and made the decision to carry him to term. I will deliver a baby boy in July. That is the reason why this bill has come into place, because of stories like that. We also, in the Health Committee, heard from women that had had an abortion and that wished that this bill had been in place, because they testified, they told us their stories, and they testified indicating that if they had been able to see, the child, that they would have maybe made a different choice. And that's what this bill is about. It's about having full knowledge of the decision that women are about to make. Because I don't think any of us can imagine what difficult decision someone has to go through if they're choosing to have an abortion. And I think anyone who's choosing to have an abortion wants to have full knowledge of exactly what they are about to undertake and what the effect that the abortion is going to have on them, not only today, but throughout their life, and the effect that that's going to have on the pregnancy and on the child that they're carrying internally. I'd just like to share one other story, and this would be Megan's story, and I think it typifies what happens today. I have a beautiful 5-month-old son named Austin. If someone would have told me 2 years ago that today I would be a mother, I would have told you you are crazy. Last April, I had a weird feeling. I went and got a home pregnancy test. It was positive. I took about 10, all positive. I started to hyperventilate and have a panic attack. Then that turned into terror and screaming. I just sat in the corner of my apartment screaming and crying. Later that night, I found a place to go to talk to someone to find out my options. I was very much considering abortion and possibly adoption, but more abortion. I sat on their couch and I cried and was so scared. I listened to everything they had to say and agreed to come in for an ultrasound, and I would make my decision after that. I came in around 8 weeks, I believe, and looked up and saw a little heart beating on the screen, and that was it. That's all I needed. That was my baby, and no one was going to take that away from me. It didn't matter that I wasn't with the father, or that I didn't have a lot of money, or that I was still in school. I would make it work. I fell in love with him instantly, and I had a little human being growing inside me. Austin is now almost 5 months old. When I was pregnant, my family and I thought it was going to ruin my life. We thought this is the worst timing and that it was a horrible thing. We couldn't have been more wrong. This little boy has brought so much joy to all our lives. I, like many of you, have 3 daughters. I have 2 granddaughters. And I look at it as a very positive step, that if they are ever in the same type of situation as Megan, that they would have available to them all the possible opportunities for them to know full well what options they're going to choose. If they're going to be choosing an abortion, that they would be able to see, what was inside their body, and that they could make, I think, an informed decision and hopefully change their mind as to going forward with it. So I appreciate everybody who has supported me on this bill, and I look forward to having this be signed by the governor, which he has indicated he will do if he gets to his desk. So thank you, everybody, for your support.